in the UK, you cannot work more than 48 hours a week on average over a 17-week period. Okay. This is a law called the Working Time Directive or Working Time Regulations. This is in the UK. I can't speak for the US or Brazil or Australia or anywhere else we might get listened to. You can choose to work more by opting out of the 48-hour week, which in my profession I did, although we had different regulations because we were in safety critical environment, which involved a lot of other things as well. So we had we had other regulations on top of it that more or less fall in line with this. Um, Obviously, this is for employees of companies. Um, those that have their own business obviously have a slightly different working ethic or requirements. And anyone that runs their own business, like Steve and myself, will attest that ouch sometimes, yeah. 14 hours later and you still haven't quite finished that last bit of accounting. Um, okay, well, working sensible hours for most people is a reasonable thing. Yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask somebody to work 8 hours or 7.5, depending on your working practices with your lunch breaks and everything. If your work is being achieved and an individual is proving their worth, then it's only right they get recognised as well. Maybe, yeah. Um, yeah, some people enjoy their work, which is another matter we'll come to in a minute. I remember at school, again, I keep referring to my school days, so I must have enjoyed them before I went into the world of work. How I crave for them sometimes. All I had to do was pass a few exams. I remember at school reading the George Orwell book, Animal Farm. In this book, there was a horse called Boxer. He had the mantra of working harder for the common good of everyone. Anyone that knows Animal Farm, what the book is all about, and has studied any history of political history will understand this. It wasn't necessary for his personal gain. All he expected was to be fed. Yes, be given the things, have to be provided for, as it were. His fate was an example of what can happen when you have this mantra. He was packed off and sent to the glue factory. Sorry about the spoiler there, but absolutely true. What I'm beginning to sense now, more and more, is with online operations happening, i.e., people working at home, etc., working at home and away from office and everything else, which some people like. And I don't disagree with them on that. Some people are required to do what's called hybrid working, i.e., part work at home, go into the office for a couple of days a week, which I don't think is unreasonable for employers to ask. Go and show your face. It's important to still have the human contact, in effect. Maybe, different things. I know certain major businessmen and businesses are now requiring their staff to, shock horror, go to a central place of work, meeting. Yeah. Which, personally, I don't think is unreasonable. Okay. For example, if somebody has a factory, it's not unreasonable to expect the executives to actually show up there, because the people that work on the factory floor have to. Get to this in a minute. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, more and more I'm seeing meetings called at 5 o'clock at night when people would normally be packing up their desks to go home to their families. Okay, they've been at home all day. That doesn't necessarily mean they've been with their families. Those that are set up to work in the home have a home set up that does actually separate them from the ones around them. Probably more and more you're going to see buildings with separate rooms built on them, like box rooms, almost room cupboards, where people can go and hide, almost. Yeah. So what's happening is companies, for some reason, and not even us international operations, are now calling meetings at 5 o'clock, and I don't understand this. I've only observed this. I don't know how true it is, and maybe there'll be a working study that will prove me wrong. I really do hope so. Okay. Um, Obviously, people who own their own businesses do so with their own financial risks and everything else, and they do work long hours. I know sometimes we work for people who've got their own businesses, and sometimes you think, oh, why is he going off? What's he doing? I never see him a lot now. It's because he's off creating more work for you to keep you employed. Yeah, or they, sorry, assuming it's a he, or it could be a she. Um, in fact, more and more women are setting up their own businesses and quite successfully as well. So I understand. Okay. Um, so really the jealousy that exists for these people isn't really justified. Yes, they are taking money. They might have the bigger house, etc. They hardly ever see it sometimes, to be quite honest. They might have the grand holidays. Um, well, quite honestly, the stress they're going through sometimes is understandable if they actually have a holiday on occasions. They're always in contact now. They want to know what's going on almost on a daily basis because they are responsible for, keeping the company going, as it were. So I would argue that we can even call these people working class, especially now, more so. I mean, in fairness to people that own their own businesses, certainly people I know, they are fully aware of how they treat their own staff is representative of their business and of them as people. And remember, a lot of people that do have their own business have started down here and have moved up. Which leads me on to another interesting point. If you look online, you can see clips of TV programs where they have senior people in companies, sometimes the owner, actually go back, put on a disguise, and pretend to be a new starter or somebody who's transferred from somewhere else into the company. These are very interesting clips to watch sometimes. These people are very, very shocked on occasions at how lapsed sometimes local operations or lower operations can be, where they're seeing money hemorrhaging at the top, wondering why at the bottom. They do, it often shows them appreciating how hard their staff work for them. Okay, there's a threat of not having a job. They also get to see how bad local management can be on occasions as well, which is always the quite interesting one. I don't quite know how they set these programs up, but yes. Again, this is very insightful. We've all been there. You all go up anyone that's worked in a company, you start off on the track. And you always think, when I get into a position in management, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be this and that. It's very easy to climb into the ivory tower and not look out that often. So that's why I find these programs interesting. So to end my preamble, working for a company for remuneration is not, as some claim, slave labor. Yeah? Anyone understands what slave labor is? Okay. We can all negotiate how much, well, I know it's easy for me to say this. We can all choose to work for a certain fixed salary. Sometimes I know it's not that easy to do otherwise. But if you are paid and treated respectfully, then it can lead to a very, very successful partnership with your employer. Nowadays, there's things going around companies called emotional intelligence. Some of it can be a little bit nonsensy. Some of it is actually quite intelligent, as it says, quite makes you think. Especially with work-life balance. In today's world, there's more divorces, more split ups. I'm not drawing on anything. Different things happen for different reasons. And the notion that, you have to work hard to have a job is possibly not right. If you can work efficiently and effectively, even dare say work effectively as a team, I know things aren't perfect. I know that's difficult. I'm not the best team player in the world. Yeah, I'm more of an individual than anything else personally. So I do a lot of reflection. But yeah, I'd always help other people if I was in a position to do it. Not hopefully not to the detriment of my own work, although bosses have let me get off in the past when I have seen me helping other people achieve their goals as well, which has also helped the team. So my question to you, Steve, is
Yep.
how many hours should someone work, even if they like their job, and what makes a good employee?
Well, first of all, I'd never heard of this law that you said that a person can only work 48 hours a week. I must have left the UK long
Yeah,
before
yeah,
that came into being.
yeah.
I think it's ridiculous. I think
Mm,
it's ridiculous that that became law.
mm,
Probably they wanted to keep the unemployment figures down and trying to force the businesses to hire more people to cover the hours that the workers couldn't cover because they were restricted by the hours, you know. Um, but that's more governmental
yeah,
intervention than economics. You know, a business knows what it needs to do to make sure that the wheels are turning and it's making a healthy profit,
yeah.
or it should do anyway,
Mm,
unless it's called Boeing. But but
well,
um,
yeah, well,
but you know, I digress. I
mm,
digress. Um, you mentioned about the horse in Animal Farm,
yeah,
always striving uh, to do more for
mm,
the social good.
yes,
But, and it reminded me of a quote from, I think it was John F. Kennedy, and he said, "It's not what your country can do for you. Ask yourself what you can do for your country,"
mm,
which is basically the thoughts of the horse.
yeah,
You know what I can do for my country. So only he took it to the extreme
mm,
because it led to his demise in the end. You know,
yes,
doing himself no end of harm. Um, look, people were being brought back from home back to the offices for the simple reason that the productivity had gone down. When you're at home, you've got so many distractions, and I don't believe for 1 minute that you isolate yourself for 8 hours a day or 7.5 hours a day if you're working in an office. You have your half hour, 45 minute break at lunchtime, you know, and then you go back and isolate yourself just to dedicate yourself uh, to what you should be doing on the computer, especially when that, you know, homes under the hammer starts to begin, and the tendency is to watch the one-eyed monster who's in the corner of corner of the room,
yeah,
rather than the green eyed
mm,
monster, which is your computer screen.
yeah,
And of course, you've got your domestic life as well, your kids and your husband or wife or whoever it may be, visitors, distractions, noises, you know, and you need to be in an in an environment that allows you to concentrate, preferably with air conditioning,
yeah,
so you don't feel uncomfortable.
mm,
You know, and I'm sure people at home don't sit there with their air conditioner at full blast so they can, you know, if they're
uh,
lucky, they have a sweaty fan like I am.
well,
I did say fan there, by the way, people.
yeah, yes,
So, you know, I can understand that companies they were forced to let their employees work at home because of the COVID, the pandemic. If they could sort of balance the books, whereas it would be cheaper because they wouldn't have to pay rent on their offices and they wouldn't have to pay for the energy and this, that, and the other. Uh, that they could work from home, then I'm sure that the companies would do it. But I think they've found out that they can't, and the people have to go back. Simple as that.
yeah. I I think with that you get some people whose productivity did go up, and I've spoken to people in Brazil They said the strange thing is productivity overall went up during the COVID, where the Brazilians were quite happy to be at home. But yeah, there could be a
Well,
lot.
that's because when, during COVID, you couldn't do anything else.
Yeah,
So you were at home 24 hours a day.
yeah, I didn't think of
And
that
so
angle.
these people probably did do their 8 hours, but did 3 hours here, 2 hours there, 5 hours there.
Yeah,
You, but if you're going through the pattern of 9 till 5,
yeah,
you know, which for many people are the most awkward hours,
yeah,
you know, then the productivity is going to go down. It'll be interesting to speak to the person who said that productivity went up during COVID to see if the productivity stayed up post COVID.
yeah. I've lost, well, not lost contact with them, but yeah, it's not an every week contact anymore. But yeah,
Because there's always one more question you could ask.
yeah. Well,
There's
yeah,
always one more question you could ask.
yeah.
Let me just change my eyes here because I've written something down. I can't read it. So
Yeah.
give me quick change artist here. Hold on a second.
Yes, okay. There are people. It's a genuine
Yes.
conversation.
Any business startup,
Yeah.
any person that decides to start up a business
Mm.
has to work every hour that God sends
Mm.
because normally it's a one-man band.
Yeah.
So you've got to be the manager, you've got to be the employee, you've got to be the accountant, you've got to be personnel, you've got to be everybody.
Yeah.
And, once you get past that and your business starts to gain traction and money starts to flow, you start to generate profit, then the tendency is to start to employ people.
Mm.
Right? So the first thing you would do is employ an accountant. So that part of it is you're free of that, Then you'd start to employ another employee to give you a little bit more time. And then as you grow and grow and grow, you start to employ a manager. Until the ideal is for you just to be sat in your office with your feet on your desk. Now, it's a manager that told me this. If you
Yeah.
manage properly,
Yeah.
you should be in your office sat with your feet on your desk. If you train all your employees
Mm.
from the manager down,
Yeah.
right, then there should be you're only called when there's a problem.
Yeah.
That they can't solve.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I tried one time. I was trained to be a manager, and I went into my manager's office because we all have a manager,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
matter where you are.
Yes. Yeah. It's always
And I
God.
said, Mr. Prime, I have this problem.
Yeah.
And he said, go away. Don't come back until I have at least 2 solutions.
Mm. That's it. Yeah.
And he sent me away, and I had to go back. And I said, Mr. Prime, this is the problem. My solution could be this, or it could be that. What do you think? And he said, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's what I want to hear. I got promoted after that. How about that one?
Oh yeah.
But once you're in this situation where you can sit down on your backside and put your feet on the desk, there's no reason why anybody can be jealous of you.
Yeah.
Because they haven't gone through the same pathway that you've trodden.
Yeah.
To get to where you are.
Yes.
I never feel remorse or jealous or bad done by if there is if somebody earns more than me, or if there are what's the word I'm looking for, in a better position than me.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Luck comes into it as well, but yes,
Right.
it's but you make your own luck.
I mean, they're not there. They didn't drop in by parachute.
No.
Well, most of them didn't. Right.
Yeah. Yes.
In terms of being more personal with his staff, the problem this day and age, and we've touched about this on other podcasts, the problem of agency hiring. You'd hire an agency, and they'd hire your employees for you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when that person comes to join you, you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
You don't know their personality. You may not even know their name. you know.
Yeah.
Especially temping agencies. Temping agencies will sending people to do a temporary job in a company. They just don't know who they are.
Yeah. Well,
You know, they don't know why they're there.
mm,
Many companies don't know why they're there
mm,
and what they're supposed to do when they get there.
yeah.
You know,
Briefing or your
so
suitability. Yeah.
yeah, the show you were on about, Undercover Boss,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's an interesting because I tend to think that some of the programs were staged.
Well, it's an
Some
entertainment
of them
show.
were
Yeah. Yeah.
because I mean some of the disguises were getting
Yeah.
to be absurd,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that there are many employees that could smell a rat,
Mm,
and they may not have known who the person was, but I'm sure as hell I think that they knew who it wasn't,
yes.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the ruse is that it's supposed to be somebody entering a competition between two people who would get a prize of getting a job somewhere or getting a prize.
Yeah.
And these people had to give them notes out of 10.
Mm,
Okay. But I think I always like to fast forward to the end
mm,
of this program. I used to watch it a lot. Uh, and there are some bosses who are so grateful and so generous. There's one guy, uh, he bought one of his employees a house because she was living in her mum's house with a child or something like that, and he bought her a house. Of course, that creates more problems than it did solutions because all of a sudden the lady's got to pay for a rate, she's got to pay for
well,
allergy, she's got to
yeah.
pay for extra food, she's got to pay for
I
this, that, and the
think she got promoted because he recognised her potential, which I think she was trying to study as well.
yeah,
And I think it kind of thing. I mean, yeah, made her self-sufficient, possibly. Yeah, she's probably tied in with the company. I can't imagine it just being a free gift, but I think in that case she'd be very grateful. Um, yeah, I remember seeing a few of them, a couple of them like that, and
But of course, on the other hand, on the other side of the coin, you
mm,
got these bosses that say, oh, you've done really, really well.
mm,
Thank you very much.
mm,
Here's a voucher to have a free lunch.
yeah,
And
well,
I mean, it says more about the boss
mm,
than it does about the company
mm,
because it shows that the boss just doesn't like to open his hand and be all that generous.
yeah, yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, it's as I said, it's an interesting program to watch. I mean, it's an eye opener for some. I mean, I remember one, he was running a call center, not an old guy, old chap. And he went in there, problems that have been down and all that. And I think it was ching, 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 how much money it was actually costing him. And then he started, yeah, admittedly, he then, I think he blew his cover in the end. He'd had enough. And he basically said to all the staff, just come to me, tell me everything almost. Yeah. God, the gates open. Or no, I think he said, choose a choose a representative. I can't remember the full thing, but there's one person in particular who came in, just told him absolutely everything. I mean, he was angry at his middle management for not feeding up to him. Got a problem. Yeah. Um, which I said sometimes, yeah, I mean that's where it does get interesting, when they find out that maybe the employees on the floor, as it were, are working unnecessarily hard. Yeah. Um, and like I said, when you live in your ivory tower, if you're not hearing things, but he was hemorrhaging money, and it might have been why he agreed to do the show because it probably gave him a legitimate reason without going in and causing all sorts of hell. They could see for himself. Um, yeah, it's a management is always a difficult position to be in. I mean, I've been middle management like you. I'll take on any engineering challenge, even if it's sitting here trying to get a computer going, as Steve has attests sometimes has happened when we're doing a broadcast or recording this. Um, um, People are not machines. People can be very. I was despite saying computers can be erratic and other things. People are emotional things sometimes, And this is where I'm saying about emotional intelligence. You can sometimes have a very, very good worker who suddenly goes crazy for no apparent reason. Now, that could be one of two things or two things. It could be problems with their home life. I mean, I've always been brought up.
You're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and
Yeah,
if you know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you
yeah,
detect that straight away,
yeah,
and you try and remedy it as soon as possible.
mm, yeah,
Instead of letting somebody blow up,
yeah,
you detect it
mm,
because, and once again, this is more difficult to discover because, like I said, people are being uh, hired anonymously.
yeah,
If you're a boss and you want to know a little bit about the person you want to hire, you have to speak to that person and find out a little bit of the background.
yeah,
It could be that they live a very long distance away from work, and do they know how they're going to get there? They might have got their mother ailing at home,
yeah,
and so they're stuck in between a rock and a hard place.
yeah.
So all these things, the hiring agencies don't tell you.
No, well, then
And
it's not in their interest to because you want,
you're very
yeah,
much out on a limb, I suppose.
yeah.
We're talking about changes in you if you were to become a manager. There should be no changes, no changes.
Uh,
I never changed when I became a
no,
manager.
I I was told to change when I became a manager. I actually was sent on a courses on how to change behavioural changes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've done all this. Again, it's even been told that people call subordinates and everything else like this. Um, it was a it was a bit of a shock for me personally. Some of the things I had to go with. But it's yeah, you are taught how to be a manager in a lot of companies now, quite literally.
I think you might have been taught the McGregor style, which is very old fashioned because there are people who work under you are called associates these days. They're not called subordinates.
When I'm going back, 20
And
years. So,
yeah,
yeah,
well, there you are. And
yeah,
they're called associates, and everybody's the same.
mm,
Everybody's got a different role to play. Yeah, of
yeah.
course it, right?
But
And somebody has, they've got to listen to you. Of course they do.
mm,
If they have a better idea than what you do, listen to the idea, and it
exactly.
could very well be a better idea.
Well, give them credit where
Just,
it's credit due, and make sure
just to
they
say,
receive
just
that
to
credit.
say,
Yeah,
yeah, but just to say you're my subordinate,
mm,
and you have to act in that way. I'm afraid times have changed since then. But anyway,
yeah.
it never changed when you're a manager. You always
Well,
show
yeah,
your
it should
true
be.
colours.
Yeah,
Always show your true colours.
yeah,
Everybody knows where they stand with you.
mm,
Everybody.
yeah.
Um, Fixed salary. You touched on that one.
Totally.
Uh,
One. Yeah,
People uh, prefer to get a fixed salary because
mm,
it's more or less something that's guaranteed,
yeah.
although it isn't, of course,
No, but
because it could be guaranteed for a short while.
mm,
But if all the team doesn't produce what they are supposed to, then the company goes under
yeah,
and nobody gets a cent.
mm,
So getting your fixed salary means you don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be a manager. You
yeah,
just need to go in there, do your bit, and then go home,
yeah,
and it's done.
mm,
And that's why you get your salary.
mm,
May not be as high as what others people do because they don't work the 28-hour days,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I know that. Yeah,
Right.
uh,
So, it's a salary, it's fixed, and it's
yeah,
almost guaranteed to always uh, drop into your bank account or drop into your pay slip every time
yeah.
you
You
get
know where you are. Yeah,
your
that's
salary or
mm,
your wage, weekly wage, you know.
yeah.
And so basically that's about as far as I got with the comments. I don't know if there's anything more general that you wanted.
No, no, no. I found it.
Um,
Your opinion was good. Yeah, it's
yeah, I mean, I think this day and age, the government and not wanting to go too political, he promised that he wouldn't.
well, yeah. Everything's political to a point. It's somewhere, but
But
yeah,
the
yeah,
government's trying to make life difficult for companies are not doing the country any favour. Um,
So you,
if a company finds things difficult to operate, more difficult to operate, they're going to make changes, and nobody likes change.
no, I mean, so what we're really saying is really there shouldn't be any or very little government involvement in how businesses are run
Because
themselves.
the,
Yeah,
who knows best for a business or how a business runs? It's the
like,
business.
yeah, I'm on the ground myself. I know exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Nobody is going to run a business thinking they're going to run it into the ground,
Mm,
right?
yeah, hope
They
not.
might make stupid decisions on the way and run it into the ground, but
Well,
then
yeah,
that's how it goes.
run on
But there are
agendas.
many
Yeah,
businesses. There are
yeah.
many businesses that are wholly successful,
Mm.
unless of course they're called Boeing, where
Well, Boeing is a tragic case because
to
they
lose 10% of its workforce, just to let you know.
yeah. Well, there's I saw something about Boeing the other day about their working practice or how much they charge the Pentagon for different things on their craft as well. Yeah, the markup was incredible. That's a different thing. That's a different policy. That's nothing to do with the staff on the ground. But yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's a yeah. I mean, being in well, being employed is difficult. It's something we all need to do. Um, I haven't yet found a way.
I don't think it's necessarily to be employed.
Yeah,
I think it's to have a meaning in life, to have a role, to have a you don't have to be employed to do that.
no,
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, these days I'm not employed. I'm too old for that.
mm,
However, I do my little bit
mm,
whenever I can in
yeah,
society. You know,
oh yeah,
it it isn't the be all and end all to be employed.
yeah. I
There
mean,
are many people, independent entrepreneurs who aren't employed. They're
well, yeah,
doing their own thing.
yeah.
You know,
It's a reason to get out of bed every day, and yes, as you say, a
yeah.
purpose. I like the fight of it sometimes, especially now, surviving. It's hard going sometimes. Yeah, we're self-employed, talked about, but it certainly can be quite a challenge at times. I have been employed. I've done contracting. I prefer contracting actually because it's definite clear cut. You have a job or you don't, and it's a little bit more clear cut. Because for me now, and I'm going to be honest, in today's world, it doesn't matter if I've got a job. I've been in 3 jobs where I've been made redundant from. And in the end, you think, well, maybe contracting, but I'll still go in and do my damn best if I'm doing a contract job. And yeah, respectful to anyone. And that, yeah, at the end of the day, I'm working for myself. And it doesn't now matter if I'm working for an established business or myself. Ultimately, I'm working for myself. That does not mean I'm selfish and, I'm not going to give a little bit extra sometimes if I can see a better way to do things with the company. Because, yeah, makes life easier for me as well. Yeah, I mean, anyone would tell you, like people I work for in Brazil, will tell you that I like doing what I do. I prepare work, I prepare things, I try and help other people around me where possible.